Sunshine, wild ones, it's Bernadette, and I'm here with your pick a card non-tarot reading for Saturday, April 24th, April 24th, 2021. So, I had to go put on this shirt, you'll see my kitty cat in the moon, because I'm finishing out the tarot scopes, the spirit animal scopes today, right, the videos for those, and, it was crazy because the vision of what today's reading was supposed to be about came to me last night, and I was like, no, that can't possibly be, because I've got moon on the brain. I'm doing the tarot scopes tomorrow. I've got planets on the brain, so on and so forth. So I went to bed, and y'all, my wagon's dragging this morning because I had the kookiest series of dreams last night. Kookiest maybe I've ever had, and I'm just like, woo, this morning. So anyway, by the time I woke up this morning, I was clear that the vision I got yesterday had absolutely nothing to do with what the spirit animal or tarot card was going to be for this morning. So let me just tell y'all, and then let me explain it as it was explained to me. So I kept hearing and seeing the man in the moon. And while a moon can't really be a spirit animal, because it's not an animal. It's a living thing, but it's not an animal. A man can, and a woman can, according to Bernadette. That's the spirit animal gospel according to what the spirit animal guides have downloaded into Bernadette. It could be a whole bunch of malarkey. When I get to the other side, I could find it. It's a whole bunch of malarkey, but I don't think so. Just because I see how much magic and healing and craziness, amazing things stem from a more expanded view. Which is what the animal allies have been on me to teach for the last couple of years. I just see I just see all the good stuff. Let me just put it that way. So when I sat with it this morning in meditation, and I know I'm just like, ugh, because it is just the kookiest message I may have ever gotten, y'all, but it's for you, and I hope it is helpful. So when I sat and thought about it, my immediate reaction was to say, well, the saying is, that's no more true than the man in the moon, or you don't anymore have this than the man in the moon, or you're no more going to get that than the man in the moon. And the man in the moon, traditionally, at least in our culture in America, has come to mean something that doesn't exist. Okay. But then I was told, that's not it. Okay, so then I realized I'd been hearing man in the moon since I was a kid, and just naturally went along with what the meaning was. I had never looked it up for myself. I didn't know what the myth or the legend or the fable or whatever it was, the story behind man in the moon. I've never looked it up. So I looked it up. I about fell over, y'all. Here's the first thing that the animal allies want y'all to know on this Saturday. And I just feel this is deeply in my sacral and root chakra. Then I don't even know that I'm going to be able to get up from my chair for the rest of the day, because I'm so firmly rooted in this. It's crazy. So the first thing is, don't go on about your merry business repeating words that you don't know anything about. Don't assume that if someone has said this, or somebody has said this, or you've heard this over and over and over again, that it means what you think it means. I always get the picture of Inigo Montoya in Princess Bride. I do not think that word means what you think it means. Now, I have a great example of this, and I will feel dumb about this probably for the rest of my darn life, but I happen to be at my real good friend, Cheryl Ryder. She's an amazing, you can find her on Facebook, Cheryl Ryder. She is an amazing tarot reader, and she's a crazy good tarot coach. She's just, my God, what that woman knows, what she's forgotten about tarot, I don't know that any of us will ever really know. So I was at her house out in New Mexico way, and was fortunate enough to be invited to a fire pit ceremony. And so we went. There were a whole bunch of people there. There had to be 35 or 40 people there. And the host, the shaman that was doing, the shamanic practitioner that was doing the fire pit ceremony, she handed out these pieces of paper with indigenous language on it. She taught us how to say the words, and then said we would repeat them. We would chant them, and we would do this. And I got to feeling really uncomfortable, just super uncomfortable. For some reason, I didn't want to say the words. I didn't know why. At the time, I was, oh, I don't want to say them. But I went back to my 9-year-old self, right? I want to fit in. I already know that I'm socially weird. I'm not an anxiety. I'm just a social weirdo. And I was just like, well, and then I reasoned it away. Well, I'll just say them real low. I won't speak up. I'll just talk real softly and no one will know I'm not really saying it like everybody. Because everybody else was like, I mean, you'd have thought they were in a bar singing a sea shanty, man. They were like hammering that out. So finally, the ants in my pants were nuts. And so I finally turned around to my friend and I'm looking at her and she's not saying a word. And I thought, huh. So we get done and we leave and everything. And later in the evening, I said, all right, I got to know what is going on with those words. And I told her how I was feeling. And she told me her version, her story, and why she didn't say them. And I thought to myself, that is one of the biggest lessons I have learned in my lifetime is don't talk about things you don't know about. Now, we should know that, but people do it every dang day because people want to be right. They want to be heard. They want to be important. And they talk about stuff they know nothing about. They just assume it's true because they've heard it here or there or there because they've assigned a meaning or a this or a that. Look it up for yourself. Make your own decision. Now, having said that, let me say this. So I'm like, all right, Mr. Man in the Moon, what gives? Y'all, one of the best places you can go to find out about the Man in the Moon is what? I couldn't believe it. There, if you type in like Man in the Moon myth or Man in the Moon fable or Man in the Moon allegory or Man in the Moon whatever, of course Wikipedia comes up first and then a couple of other little sites. And they give a little bit of this and a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It all kind of says the same thing. Farmer's Almanac. Who else is going to have better information on the moon? The Farmer's Almanac. And I was like, well, you know what? The Farmer's Almanac is my Bible. So it has been for years. So we'll just go with that. So, you can go look. I'm just going to keep this short because y'all can go look, yourself and find all the different meanings of the Man in the Moon. But because, like in the Christian culture, it's the fable for the Man in the Moon is about this old boy who is lugging a big old pile of sticks, working because that's what poor people do, work on Saturday and Sunday. And, to some Christians, and certainly, when this fable or when this myth would have started, it was a holy thing, like a gospel kind of thing. You don't work on Sunday because that's the day of rest. God said so, right? Okay. So this old boy was toting a big old bag of sticks on his back, and he had a little dog following him, and I went, that sounds a lot like the Fool card, doesn't it? Sure does. And somebody said to him, hey, listen, this is supposed to be the day of rest. What are you doing? And he was like, Sunday or Monday, it doesn't make any difference to me. I got to make the money. I'm sure he didn't sing it that way, if the story's even real, but he should have sung it that way. So they got on him. And they killed that old boy. They stoned him to death, right? So I won't. You know what I'm thinking. I know you know what I'm thinking. And banished him to the moon. And forevermore, he's this poor old fella who's toting sticks on his back because he didn't believe in Sunday. He didn't believe it was a day of rest. So of course they had to kill him. And then I think it was God that banished him to the moon. Okay, that's what I read on like 4 or 5 different sites, which probably all scrape the information from each other. And who knows if that's the absolute accurate thing, but that's what I've got for this morning. And if somebody knows different, put it in the comments and we'll all be happy to learn about it. But then you go down in like in India, they talk about it's a pair of hands, and in other, the Polynesian culture, it's the woman in the moon and she's got her child with her. And then the Scandinavians see it as Jack and Jill. That's where that holding a water bucket. And then, again, coming back to our culture, but anybody that's a human, and this is science, we have this need in our brain to assign, it blows our minds when we see shapes or hear sounds or whatever that we don't know what they are, and we can't instantly jumble construct and destruct the stuff in our head, which is like millions and millions of thoughts and visuals and all that, and within seconds assign an attribute to it that makes it comfortable for us that we can know what something is. And so when we take a look at the moon, faces are usually the first images that we see, because that's the first thing we see as infants, right? And it's this whole scientific thing about about that, which I actually do happen to know a little bit about. Only a little bit. And only because it's come up in various and sundry things, and these are the things that Bernadette reads at midnight when she's tired and she's trying to make herself go to sleep, is scientific stuff. So all of that said, bottom line is every human, our brain is looking for a face in something, right? So of course we're going to see that in the moon. However, something that really took me, and I was like, well, that makes total sense. And then all of a sudden the animal allies were like, and that is the message of the day. I was like, man, that makes good sense. And what that is this: depending on where you're at watching the moon, if you're in Greenland, if you're in America, if you're in Hawaii, which is, part of the Americas, but you could be, in Nepal, you could be anywhere, pick a place on the earth. Depending where you are, that's where you're going to see the moon. And depending where you are, what you're going to see of the moon is going to be different than what we see over here, just based on our positioning. And the positioning of the moon when it's nighttime way over yonder and it's nighttime right over here. So, bottom line is, has a long way to go. Today is about perspective, and today is about not believing everything you hear because you haven't thought to do your own diligence. You haven't thought to follow up on it. And how many of us have done that? I have. I've had people tell me something about somebody else, and because I had at least a little bit of modicum of trust in that person, I would believe every word they said, and come to find out it was a big, fat, not a lie. Now, there have been some big, fat old lies, to which I have gone back to those people and said, hey, how's it feel to have your pants on fire? Or it was just based on misinformation, but they didn't check it out, and then I didn't check it out. And then if I had told the next person and the next person and the next person, earlier in my life, y'all, I'm from the South. It's an Olympic sport. Gossip is an Olympic sport in the South. And my mom always used to tell me, because my mom was not a gossip at all. She couldn't stand a gossip, and she wouldn't do it. And craziness, my mom would check out her facts before she started to blab anything about people. She didn't always check out her facts as it came to gardening and those are the kind of things, but that's a story for another time. But or putting up fence. I'll tell you all a story one day about my misspent childhood, my youth, putting fence posts in the ground and eyeing them up and ratcheting barbed wire and stuff like that. People look at me now and they're like, "You's a lie. You never did that stuff in your life, really?" I can sink a fence post like ain't nobody on this planet can sink a fence post. But anyway, and I can line up barbed wire like nobody can line it up too. You don't need a level. You don't need all that. You just need Bernadette's eye. That's all you need. But anyway, so that's the thing is, don't be spreading what could be thought of as a lie, even if you don't intend it that way. But don't be spreading information of any kind that you haven't verified yourself. Conversely, when you're getting information, don't just willy-nilly act on that information. Check it out for yourself. And don't act on it until you find out for yourself, because it's going to get you in a load of trouble. Now, having said that, let me go back to the story of the fire pit. That was a double whammy, got me in trouble. A double whammy. Ooh, well, actually it was a triple whammy. I did not trust my spidey senses when I was uncomfortable. And I didn't realize at the time I was uncomfortable because I was saying stuff that I didn't know what I was saying, and that's not Bernadette. I don't play follow the leader very well. I don't. And I followed the leader, even going against my own gut. Ooh, don't do that. Trust your spidey senses. Number two, I breathed energy. I breathed life. No, I was still real quiet about it. But still in all, I breathed life into those words that turned out to be not so much. And then it's been what, 4 years or something? 3 or 4 years since that happened. I'm still beating myself up against that. So now I got negative self-talk still going 3 or 4 years later. What a schmuck I was, right? So this is like a crazy in-depth message, all from the Man in the Moon and brought to you today by the Man in the Moon and the Farmer's Almanac. So there you go. It's kooky, but it's true. And I really invite you to consider that. And in particular, I'm going to invite you to consider that for those of you that are involved in psychic and mediumship development classes, Reiki training, that kind of thing, because many of those teachers teach based on what their belief system is spiritually, what their spiritual belief system is. And I got news for y'all. You can believe in what you want to believe in all day long, but spirituality, that's a crapshoot. That happens to be what somebody believes. And because they believe it, it is their reality. If you want to believe what they're believing, it then becomes your reality, and that's cool. There's no one right and there's no one wrong. That's why there's like, what is that meme that goes around Facebook? There's like 7,000 or 70,000 gods and goddesses in the world, but yours is the right one. That makes me laugh every time I see it. Usually it's got a Ganesh on it or something, but it makes me laugh every time I see it. But again, it does become your reality. That doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means that's your reality. But what if one day you find out that your reality is narrow? What if one day you find out that you could have done better by yourself or others if you had expanded your reality? How much beating up of yourself are you going to do then? Don't do it. I'm still doing it, and I don't recommend it. I don't recommend negative self-talk to anybody. So, gee, I hope that's helpful for a Saturday. I love you guys. I know the video is a little bit late, but Joel will be back on Monday is all I can say. So, I love you guys. What's the most important thing? Do good for animals. Pledge my Kickstarter. And stay wild.